Hi, I'm Sarah from The Oncoming. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us at Sundance, London.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Maybe you could kick off with a brief introduction to this film and tell us a bit about your role within it.
Yeah, so my name is Lio Mehiel. I play Fenya in the film Mutt by Vuk Lungalov-Klotz. Mutt follows Fenya over 24 very hectic hours in New York City when he's forced to confront three people from his past, his little half-sister, his ex-boyfriend, and his Chilean father, and he has to negotiate these old relationships in this new moment post-transition. Fenya is a trans guy, I'm trans-masculine, and it was such a privilege to make my feature debut as an actor in a film written and directed by a fellow trans person playing a trans character. I had quite literally never read a character breakdown for an audition that allowed me to be so much of myself or bring so much of myself to the role. So it's been such a privilege, and I'm so excited to be here. I mean, London, yes.
And so how did it all come about? This is your first film role. How did you come across the script? And like you say, what was that initial kind of connection to the character? And you could see this was going to be an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a part of this community called Act Now, which is a group of trans actors, queer actors in LA and New York, led by Rain Valdez, who's an amazing trans actress and activist. And there was an email that was like, casting call for this new film, whatever. And I saw it and like my heart stopped. And I emailed Vuk immediately and I was like, you don't know me, but please just give me this part. Like, I need it. And he's like, all right, chill out. Why don't you audition? And unbeknownst to me, he had been spending 2 years trying to cast this role and had acquired a list of over 100 trans masculine people across the US submitting tapes, and he chose me, and I felt like I was being asked to prom for the first time. Yeah, and when I first read the script in order to audition, I mean, Vuk is a fantastic director, but he's also a fantastic writer. The script is a beautiful piece of poetic text that can live as an artwork all on its own. And so I knew immediately, okay, the writing is good. The team seems really amazing. This is something I have to do if I'm given the opportunity, and I'm lucky enough to be here.
And how did you see Fenya? And how did you kind of, I guess from the script, working with the director, but also create that character for
Yeah.
yourself? In what ways could you relate and what ways were you very different?
Well, so on the page, Fenya was written a lot more as an anti-hero than I played him, because Fenya is a child of abuse, and so he is a little bit more defensive and prickly and aggressive in his life and in his everyday than I am. I'm a pretty soft and sensitive person. When Vuk and I started working together, the question was like, how much do we meet in the middle? Or how much of Fenya do we sort of bring to me? Because we knew that the film would be most successful if I could play it as authentically as possible. And so Fenya ended up being a lot kind of sweeter and softer than he was initially written. You know, for me, it was a really exciting challenge to play someone who has a little bit more trouble in their everyday than I do, because I can relate to it. I mean, my relationship with my parents is not perfect. I've felt rejected many times, as so many people have. I've felt unsure of how people will receive me if I am brave enough to share with them who I am. And so all of those emotions that I've experienced in my life, I was able to bring forward in telling the story. Yeah, I mean, it's so satisfying as an actor to both be able to bring your emotional truth to something and then also be forced to kind of stretch a little bit, because that's our job. It's not, I don't need to, all the characters I play, hopefully in my career, are not all going to be super similar to me, you know?
It being your first film, first time in front of the camera, what were some of the best moments on set, but maybe also some of the most tricky?
What was really cool on the set of Mutt was that there were a lot of trans mask people in the crew. We had a first AC, a PA, a gaffer, like so many people. I mean, everyone was queer, but then we also had a lot of trans people on the team who were like on the crew and trans. But so that was like really awesome because I wasn't then the sort of token trans person on the set. And then also what was really exciting was shooting the laundromat scene. I don't know if you saw the film. It's everyone's favorite scene, and it was our first overnight shoot. And so it was a fantastic experience to not only bond like in a kind of sleepover environment doing an overnight shoot, but then also to do this really vulnerable, beautiful scene with such a queer and trans set. It was just like, it was a dream. Yeah.
And what do you think people can take away from watching the film? And I guess there's so much debate that's happened in the past, and even now, maybe the debate's even worse now about representation. Why is it so important to have the opportunity to represent a character like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated time to be coming out with a movie like this because it's such a life-affirming experience to be able to have a film that honors trans representation both behind and in front of the camera. And it feels particularly important because in the US, I know in the UK and around the world, we are fighting for the ability to for trans people to just exist at all. And so the representation feels very powerful, and it feels complicated because I know that a part of what conservatives and right-wing politicians are doing is using the representation that is increasing as a way to sort of like stoke the fire and provoke people into feeling like, look at what's happening in our, and it's just like, it's complicated. It feels very complicated. And I think that, I hope that this film and other films like it are just able to reach young trans kids who feel alone or uncertain in this landscape and remind them that there are trans people who make it to their 20s and 30s and 40s and who are living beautiful, vibrant lives and working in one of the most competitive industries, and there is room for them. We want them, and we want to protect them. And so, yeah, that's my hope for the film.
And in terms of, how do you see the future? I mean, it does feel like it's definitely in the UK, things are taking a backward step in terms of acceptance and, particularly on the trans debate. Do you feel hope for the future? Is this just something that, like you say, it's a culture war being stoked rather than something that's actually very real?
100%. I mean, yeah, I feel like right-wing conservatives are using transness as a red herring and as a distraction. They're like, here is this provocative debate, and while we have you arguing over whether or not this group of people can exist or another group of people can love who they love, we're going to take away your right to choose whether or not you want an abortion, your right to be able to attend college fairly with affirmative action in the US. Like, it feels like a strategic approach to distracting the population in a way that has deadly repercussions. I mean, quite literally, climate is the most important issue that affects everyone, and no one's talking about it because we're arguing whether or not who should have rights. And I'm like, what, guys? This distraction is on purpose, and so I hope that there is a positive future moving forward because people are starting to realize that all of this is just media political play. Like, they're playing with us, and we don't have time anymore. We've already reached a point in our climate crisis where we're beyond the point of no return. And so I feel like even just using that issue, like, we need to get together and start working together as a community to fix the problems that we're facing and stop arguing over this shit that just isn't relevant. Yeah, I'm just toilets. I'm like, what? Yo, it was the hottest day of the year on July 4th that has ever been reported. Did you see that? I'm like, oh my God. I mean, who knows what's real anymore on Instagram with news? But I'm like, wow, the earth is boiling, and we're talking about whether or not I should be able to get top surgery because I felt like I'm just, it's beyond. But yeah.
Very well put. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed presenting the film here at Sundance London. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
time. So nice to meet you. Thanks a lot.